Why do you can? I can to save money and to provide security to my family. Saving money. That's a big one nowadays, right? Hello, everybody, and welcome to SuttonsDaze. My name is Lisa, if you're new here, and we are all about pantry preparedness. A large part of what we do here is home canning. I love home canning. It is fun, it is rewarding, and it is the best insurance that money can buy to make sure that my family is safe and fed. Today, we're going to talk about some canning mistakes that could cause you economic issues, not necessarily deadly, but they're not good. Let's get started. Let's talk about jars. Yes. Old mayonnaise jars. Do you remember when mayonnaise used to come in a glass jar? Oh my gosh, that was a pop soda in a glass bottle. Okay, so back in the day, they used to put our food that we purchased in glass. A lot of people save those jars. They are great for dry storage. They're fantastic for dry storage. Not so much for canning. I know, my mother always did it. I haven't had a problem. I don't care. What I'm telling you, especially if you're new to canning, is don't do it, because the jar is not the same as the kind of glass that is used for canning jars. So it's a thinner glass, making it less safe, more likely to shatter, more likely to have problems. If it shatters, it's no good. Neither's the food inside of it. You've lost money. Back in the day, Grandma had paraffin wax, right? Or Mom did. And she would make her jams and her jellies and cover them with that paraffin wax. They did that instead of the whole canning lid, right? I think I've mentioned before, once we know better, we do better, okay? Wear those seatbelts, my friends. Let me read you what they said here. Small air holes in the paraffin may allow mold to grow. Also, paraffin can catch fire if overheated during preparation. Takes canning to a whole new level, doesn't it? If preserves do have mold growth, the recommendation is not to eat the product, but discard it. I mean, obviously, if it has mold, no. Cooling too slowly after removal from the canner. Say what, right? Okay, so all of our canners depressurize at a different time frame. That's normal. But some people are like, oh God, I'm really tired. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to go to bed. I'll take them out in the morning. Or like Grandma used to do, she used to put a towel over them when she pulled them out, right? This is actually proved not to be a good thing. It takes too long for them to depressurize, which can alter the food. It's a thing called flat sour. And again, they have factored in all of these equations, right? It's called flat sour, and it happens when food takes longer to depressurize than what it should. So if you leave it in the canner overnight, you have a true chance of getting flat sour, because that depressurization, that time involved there, that 24 hours, is part of the calculation of it processing for the right time safely. Now, flat sour will not kill you, but it does ruin the taste of whatever that you're trying to eat. It makes it basically inedible, but it won't kill you, so there's a bonus, right? Follow the process, schedule your time so that you can pull them out as needed. Don't let them sit in the canner overnight. Don't cover them with a towel. Grandma used to do that because she'd pull them out and they had the windows open and there was a breeze or whatever, right? It's not necessary now. It's not necessary now with the houses the way that they are. You want to make sure that those cool off on their own, just like depressurizing the canner, that it all does it on its own at its own natural time frame. You don't want to inhibit or aid that time frame in any way, shape, or form. You just want it to do its due. One of the things that they say is to not store food for longer than the recommended time. Now, the main purpose for this is not it's going to kill you, okay? The main purpose for this is that it loses nutrients. The nutritional value decreases the longer that you have it in a jar. Let's talk about some specific foods. Okay, let's do it. Let's talk about butter, baby. For now, canning butter is not recommended. There's no method recommended for safely canning butter and making it shelf stable. It's not out there. I don't care what anybody says. For now, don't can butter. Stick it in the freezer. Breads, people actually bake breads in jars that are not made for dry heat. And then they put a lid on it and consider that vacuum seal. And don't consider the fact that breads, canned bread will kill you, okay? Unless you happen to own a manufacturing plant, then it's not so bad. So the exact verbiage on this is baking quick breads in canning jars and then placing a lid and a ring on the jar to create a vacuum seal as it cools does not kill botulism forming organisms that grow in warm, moist, anaerobic conditions. These items should be either baked fresh or served or frozen. Imagine it's a sponge for bacteria in a canning jar that somebody says, oh yeah, I baked it, it's good. No. Now we're going to talk about dried beans, baby. Yep. Okay, so there was a craze. There still is a craze. I participated in it for canning dried beans. Now, I don't mean taking dried beans and rehydrating them and then canning them. I'm talking about putting dried beans in a jar, adding liquid and canning them. Here's the problem with this process. Okay, so as we know, canning, home canning is a science. There is scientific testing to make sure that we don't kill ourselves and other people. It's kind of important. That time for canning that they have listed there, which is the same as meat, okay, 75 minutes for pints, 90 minutes for quarts, is based on hydrated beans and the temperature for the entire process getting to the necessary temperature in the center of the bean. Common sense tells us that if you are using a dried bean, that heat is not going to penetrate that bean as willingly, as quickly as it does a rehydrated bean, which means that the beans that you have canned dry are not safe. We're going to kick in a couple of general rules for you just to round this out, right? So always use up-to-date, scientifically tested recipes. These are easy to find. National Center for Home Food Preservation, Ball, Bernardin. There's some trusted sources out there that have a plethora of recipes. Pomona's. Check them out. There's a lot of really cool stuff out there. This is not the time to go all Willy Wonka wild, you know? Only use up-to-date canning methods. Boiling water bath, steam, or pressure. Putting them in an oven doesn't work. Dry canning doesn't work. No. And you can ruin a lot of food and you can make people really sick. Something for some of us, I know, is difficult. We need to follow these directions exactly. Follow them exactly as they're written. If you need to, rewrite them down exactly as they're written so that it's kind of ingrained, right? They're there for a reason because we like having you around. Make sure you make the altitude adjustments. Make sure you know what your altitude is and what pressure it's best for you to can at. At the end of it all, when you've got those glorious jars of beautiful food sitting there, you want to make sure that the lids have properly sealed. Remember, never mess with the lids for at least 8 hours, and you can leave them there for as long as 24, and they are still perfectly safe. Exceptions to the rules. Of course, there's exceptions to the rules. Who do you think you're talking to here? There's always exceptions to the rules. So, salt. Salt is an exception to the rule. Salt is not part of the preservation process for pressure canning or for water bath canning. It is there for taste. Changing the sugar level in the simple syrups that you create for your fruit. You can do that. Sugar helps retain a bright color and a firmer texture. That's the only thing it does in the preservation process. Now, I can tell you for a fact that if you don't put sugar into your fruit, it turns brown. Sugar. That's what it's there for in those simple syrups. Do you remember how we talked about not increasing, the amount of vegetables in the jar? There is a caveat to that. Of course there is, Lisa. Why would anything be easy? Because that's not how we do things. So when it comes to peppers, okay, substitute bell peppers, long green peppers, or jalapeno peppers for each other in salsa recipes. So bell peppers, long green peppers, and jalapenos can all be substituted. It's the pepper that you can substitute, not the amount. I hope these were helpful, and I hope they help keep you safe on your canning journey, because the best insurance that money can buy is only good if it doesn't kill you. Check out our playlist for our frequently asked questions here. We have lots of good stuff. Until next time, everybody, be safe.